kimchi product, not only does it significantly help, I mean, it helps on so many levels with the immune system. People who are dealing with cancer, if they can deal with their immune system, it's amazing what it does to help you fight cancer, because cancer is really an immune system breakdown, right? And then it also helps with weight loss. I mean, this thing is amazing. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, kimchi is amazing. It's centuries old, and I was so excited. I read studies all the time, of course, but I was so excited when I found this study because it's been such a strong advocate for kimchi and its health benefits for such a long time. And this study was about the T cells.
Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have Kim Bright coming back to the program. We're going to be talking about the business model of pharmaceuticals and how NASA and space is changing, fundamentally changing the future of this industry and what that means, and how development of pharmaceutical drugs in space fundamentally changes what you can do with pharmaceutical drugs. And do we want that? Or if we do, how? And how does that change who can even get involved in developing drugs and who is going to be benefiting from this? This is a must listen to show if you want to understand where things are going or what could be going and how we need to think about these things. This is the first time I've heard about this, and I'm kind of floored at what it is that she brought to the table today, and how, for me, my brain just gets going and goes, oh my gosh, this is fundamentally changing the entire model of pharmaceutical drugs and medicine as this goes forward, or it could. If and the problem is that we have such a small fraction of a percent of people making all the decision that affects everyone. The whole notion of a representative republic or a democracy of sorts. I know we're not a democracy, but democratic republic is for the people who are affected to have input as to what's actually going on in their lives and what affects them. And when it comes to areas of your life that really impacts you greatly, like your healthcare, don't we have a right to decide how we are receiving and how we are interacting with that space instead of being forced into a certain model or mold and saying, we believe this is right for us, so you have to do it too? Have we gotten to the point where freedom doesn't mean anything because they claim that they're more knowledgeable? Then we say, well, okay, are you more knowledgeable, or is this the money behind this and the greed behind this making these decisions? I mean, I don't know, but at some point we have to decide whether the people on this planet have any input at all on some of these big areas. This conversation is going to be eye-opening for you, and I hope you listen and take this in and absorb what this means. Whether you agree with research in space or not, I think it's really important that we understand what it means to the business model of healthcare. Kim Bright also has a rich, deep background in nutrition and how natural foods can really help you have a stronger, healthier immune system, can bring nutrients to every cell in your body. And she highly recommends Kimchi One. It's something that I am profoundly interested in using every single day. I want my whole family to use it. When I understand that Kimchi One has over 900 natural bacteria that helps your microbiome, it's the only thing that around. The next best might be garlic at like 47, and then other products as well. Nothing is even close to what kimchi can do for your microbiome. Also, for those of you who are trying to lose weight or have lost weight on GLP-1s, you seriously need something to help you maintain that weight loss. And Kimchi One naturally helps you burn fat. If you're interested in getting it for yourself, you can use the link below or use a coupon code Sarah to save 25%. If you call the number 1-888-495-8092, or the number that you see on the screen, you can get even higher, up to 50% off, and they will help you understand how it'll work with your body. They'll answer all of your questions. I hope you take the time and you research this a bit for yourself. Again, the number 1-888-495-8092. Okay, let's get into this mind-blowing conversation about how the pharmaceutical and the healthcare model for the future is likely going to change. Okay, here's Kim Bright. Hi, Kim. Welcome back to the program.
Well, hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me back.
Well, I know listeners love you. I know that people want to hear more from you. And I said, well, gosh, we got to get her back. And you have so much knowledge in so many different areas. It kind of feels like me a little bit, where you're seeing the connections all over the place to everything. And lately you've been looking into NASA and what they're doing in space and what they're doing in space when it comes to pharmaceuticals. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, there's some weird things going on, Sarah. I mean, people are always talking about the future of medicine as something that's being built to save lives. But now some of that future, these things are being developed in space, not just here on Earth. And NASA is funding a company called Redwire. And we know enough about NASA to assume nefarious intentions. Everyone's seen the recent stories about the missing and dead NASA scientists. And on the surface, Redwire looks like a typical space company, building equipment for satellites, space stations, and other things in orbit. And Redwire has grown really quickly, and now it's doing a lot more than just basic space hardware. It's building advanced technologies, robotics, manufacturing systems in space, research platforms, the kind of tools that support a much bigger vision of what can actually happen in orbit. And it's no longer just focusing on exploration in space or on exploration or science. Redwire is also been moving into defense, interestingly enough. So what looks like space innovation on the surface is increasingly connected to military and defense systems behind the scenes.
Okay, so it's not, that's what I was going to ask you. Why are they doing this? Is there a benefit for doing this research in space? It always loops back to global domination. Are we seeing, because there used to be, space was considered a area that the entire world owned, and you can not one government or one organization can own space. Are you seeing them moving towards military applications and global dominance in space?
I believe so. I mean, Redwire's just now started recently a new project called Space MD, and they're trying to make new medicines in space. I mean, why space? You might ask, and I ask too. It's because it's in zero gravity. They can grow very precise crystals of drug ingredients, and that's something very hard to do on Earth. Very costly. And these crystals can then be used to create new versions of medicines. Now, they are using a system that they call Pillbox. It's basically a mini lab in space. And they've already sent these labs to the International Space Station many times. So this is not something they're planning on. It's something that's already been done. They've tested at least 17 different substances, including insulin. And dozens of these space labs have already been used in orbit. And NASA is continuing to fund this project with millions of dollars, $4 million in March of 2026, with a ceiling of up to $25 million over the next 5 years. So this is not some future concept. They're actively making and testing these drug ingredients in space right now with government support. And, NASA's not just funding a launch. It is not just funding a science experiment. It is funding a platform for orbital drug development built by a for-profit New York Stock Exchange company that sits at the intersection of space infrastructure. Autonomous systems and defense technologies. And Redwire isn't doing this just for research, Sarah, or for curiosity. The goal is to grow special drug ingredients in space that can be sold, licensed to pharmaceutical companies and used to create new and improved medicines back on Earth. And they have already made these deals with the big drug companies where they're going to earn royalties from all their work. And the bottom line is this. It's It isn't just science, it's a business. They're building a system to make money by developing drugs in space. So, what we're watching here are two supervillains, if you will, team up in this marriage of big pharma and NASA.
But why space? Why can't they do it on land? What is the benefit of space?
Well, again, it's the microgravity that conditions up there, the microgravity conditions, and to replicate those on Earth supposedly is supposed to be a lot more expensive than doing it up in space. And from what I understand in medicine, the exact shape and structure of a drug really matters. It can affect how well the drug works, how long it lasts, and how the body absorbs it. So working on these crystal structures, if you change the crystal structure, you can now sometimes change how the medicine behaves. And in zero gravity, scientists can create crystal structures that are very hard or even impossible to make on Earth. And that means that space isn't just a place to experiment anymore. It could become a place you have to go to make certain medicines, you
Okay,
know?
so that makes sense. And then why, if that's the case, are you saying that, and let's explore this a little bit. Are you saying that it's necessarily 100% bad to make pharmaceuticals in space if you can only make it in space? When could that be a positive thing, and when is it a negative thing? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, if future drugs depend on being made in space, then access to medicine could depend on who can launch things into space and which companies and governments would be involved. So medicine wouldn't be just about science anymore. It would also be about access, control, and infrastructure. So why is a company that also works in aerospace and defense now helping shape the future of medicine in space? This is a
This
big
is something
question.
I haven't even thought about.
This is huge.
How much would the crystal structure, how much does that make a difference? Are they seeing that it's profoundly different in space than it is here, where it actually operates? I mean, like, what kind of difference are we seeing? Like, do
Well,
you have an example?
this is what they're saying. They're saying that it definitely makes a difference on an impact because it's like the foundation. That crystal's the foundation, and so the way that they can do in the gravity, less gravity in space makes a huge difference. But this could create a system where powerful medicines are controlled by a small number of companies that are going to operate in space.
It would be
Um,
completely change the model.
it would completely change the model. And in that case, what would happen is medicine is shifting from big pharma on Earth to something like space pharma. And it's kind of hard to look over the shoulders of big pharma now. Can you imagine if it goes into space? We won't know what they're doing up
Well,
there.
there's
And another thing that concerns me too, Sarah, is how do you fully test and prove the safety of drugs made in an environment that humans were never meant to live in? It's crazy. And then if they rush them to market too quickly, any problems wouldn't show up in the lab. They'd end up showing up in real people. And so
If they don't
again,
test properly, which we know that they don't always test properly. The other question
yeah,
is, if the structure is created in space, what happens when it goes into a zero gra or a heavy gravity, like on Earth? Does that change the structure? And what does it happen? This is what you're saying. Does that change the structure when it gets on Earth and over time and in people's bodies?
exactly. But I think the biggest thing here is space-made medicine could change who controls healthcare
The model.
and introduce these new risks that we don't fully understand yet. And who knows if we ever will. I mean, these crystal proteins that Redwire is creating with their pill box are laying the foundation for the next generation of untested, unproven, and unsafe vaccines. We already know the damage that vaccines and other pharmaceuticals have done that were created here on Earth. And now we're supposed to trust the ones they're creating in microgravity conditions in space.
So what would you say? Would you say that this is a field that shouldn't be explored at all? Or what is the proper way to go about doing this research, if at all? And is there anything positive about this? And should we be researching this, right? I mean, because research, I'm a libertarian leaning person, so I'm like, well, research should happen, but how should this be set up so we don't create this monster?
Well, it's kind of a catch 22 because I like natural. I like to,
Yeah, yeah.
that's where I come from. I don't this all this stuff is to me science fiction, but I think again you're dealing with people that are profit driven. You're dealing with the race for space. You're dealing with we got to get there before China does. All this added stuff that people have to deal with, but we're being forced into this flow. But if we look back at what happened with the first generation of mRNA through the COVID vaccine, for instance, the effects of that are still being seen today, and that was made on Earth. It's a half a decade later, and we're dealing with people all the time who are still suffering from severe side effects.
That's right.
And the next generation of mRNA vaccines, things like DNA origami-based vaccines, universal mRNA vaccines, where the one shot cures all, and cancer vaccine techs, they're completely dependent on the work that Redwire and NASA are collaborating on. And they come with these gigantic promises, but also they come with gigantic danger. And it's not just about vaccines. I mean, many pharmaceuticals in general can and should be avoided, in my opinion.
Okay, so in space, there's a different attitude to happening right now. I was listening to a very famous person talking about how the United States owns the moon. Like we own the moon. And they're laughing about it and how the United States is moving in that direction. Is there something like that going on too?
Well, one
Y-
can only guess.
y-
And, who knows what the truth is, Sarah?
That's right.
Honestly, who
That's right.
knows?
You listen to the messaging and you don't know what the heck they're doing, and it could be just to spear this competitive. The competition to get out into space is a pretty big deal. Now, do you think there needs to be research in space in general if we are looking to explore space and actually live on Mars and other planets? Or what do you think about that whole area?
Well, I think, yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, if we're planning on going there, it sounds like, yeah, we need to know how our bodies react in space. But I don't think rushing to make these crystals right now and doing all this because we don't even know how our bodies respond in space that well yet. So, I don't know. It's a mess as far as I'm concerned. And I think it all boils back down to money,
It
money and
always does.
power. And, I don't know if you know this or not, but pharmaceuticals overall are now ranked as the third leading cause of death after heart disease and cancer. And it's not because of overdose or acute toxicity, it's about what they're doing to our bodies over long periods of time. And 1 out of 5 Americans, 1 out of 5 are now using the GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic. And there are thousands of lawsuits mounting against these pharmaceutical companies due to crazy side effects. I'm talking about things like sudden vision loss, gastrointestinal complications, extreme vomiting, chronic acid reflux, stomach paralysis, which means the stomach stops emptying food into the small intestines, which basically means it all stops working. And there are even cases of things as severe as total organ death and neurological damage. And this is why I have and continue to preach, as much as I can about what I've learned with the hope of raising awareness and having people question and having people take more responsibility for their own body. I mean, taking a drug-based approach to health and wellness without enough information and an insufficient understanding of the risks involved, that's when you're looking at dire consequences. They can have dire consequences. And of course, there's always been two schools of thought when it comes to health, natural versus synthetic. I'm 71. I've been doing this for over 50 years, long enough to know that the natural path is not only safer, but it's more effective in 99% of the cases.
Well, I personally used retatrutide, which is the next generation GLP-1, and I lost weight with it, and I feel better than I've ever have in my entire life. But I also made sure every single day I got my nutrition. I also started off at a really low dose and I was really responsible about it. And I also only got the peptide. I didn't get any of the additional crap that was in it. But I can completely understand the need to really watch what you're doing with it and make sure that you're responsible. And if you're having side effects, get off of it right away. But it was for me, somebody who struggled my whole life to keep my weight in gear, it was almost a lifesaver for me. I was like, holy shit, this works great. But I was really responsible about it. And I think that in my experience of watching people, my sister's a doctor, my other one's a pharmacist, and we had a long conversation about it. And I think what's happening is it decreases there's probably other things happening too, but it decreases your appetite to a level where people aren't eating. And so you're really into nutrition. And if people aren't eating and they're severely under nutrient, they're not getting their nutrients at all. Now you have this whole avalanche of problems that could happen. And then they're decreasing their muscle, and there's just all sorts of issues that can happen.
Yep, and their bones get brittle too. When I talk to people who aren't up to date and understand really health on a very sophisticated level, my first step is to explain how the immune system functions because that's so important. And many diseases and ailments, whether they're acute, like having the flu, or chronic, like diabetes or obesity, arise due to the lack of knowledge about how to take care of your health naturally. I've been working with people, for over 50 years, like I said. And one of the most critical elements of every immune system in our body is something called T cells. Now, T cells are specialized white blood cells acting as the body's security force, if you will. They're crucial for detecting and fighting off infections. They influence our immune system by directly destroying infected or cancerous cells and by sending chemical signals to orchestrate the broader immune response. And without them, the body has no ability to fight off pathogens, infections, or a long list of other serious threats. And there's 4 types of T cells in our body, and they all work synergistically, but each serve a distinct purpose. And I like to name them. There's the assassins, the generals, the peacekeepers, and the library. So let's start with the assassins. Those are the killer T cells. They hunt down and destroy your own cells that have been hijacked by viruses or they've turned cancerous. And by killing what I call the factory, they stop the threat from spreading. And then we have the generals. That's the helper T cells. And they don't do the fighting themselves. Instead, they release chemical signals to, command the other immune cells, wake them up, and like our B cells, which make antibiotics and macrophages. And those are the guys that eat the germs. They wake those guys up and tell them, hey, get going. It's time for you to proceed. And then we've got the peacekeepers. Those are regulatory T cells. And they tell our immune system to like calm down, pipe down once the fight's over, because they want to keep fighting and they want to prevent them from accidentally attacking healthy tissues. So they say to all those guys, calm down. And then we've got the library. Those are our memory T cells. They remember exactly what a specific germ looks like, so that even if it ever returns into your system, your body crushes it before you even feel sick. And these T cells not only protect us against things like pathogens, viruses, parasites, but also from the danger of exposure to synthetic health threats like mRNA. And keep in mind, whether or not you receive a vaccine, you're still exposed to it through other forms of contamination, like shredding, or if somebody coughs on you, or you have, intercourse with them, you can still get that into your own body.
Just a quick break from the program. I need to share with you in urgent manner about scam gold IRAs and the important need to make sure that you're working with a trusted company in the precious metal space. I have had hundreds of people come to me now where they have lost 50, 60, 70% of their life savings in these scam gold IRAs. We are having nearly 100% success rate getting their money back. If you have put your life savings into a gold IRA, I implore you to look and see if you have been scammed. Don't trust the company that sold it to you. Make sure you understand what you can get as a buyback value for the gold or silver that you have in your IRA. If you have noticed a significant drop in what you invested, you have more than likely been scammed. We can help you, and there's no shame. Go to sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin, fill out that form, and we will help you get your life savings back. Yeah, the shedding's a real situation. I mean, it's a real deal. They've been studying it for decades, or a good decade, and in rabbits, they've shown that the study I read that they're able to immune one rabbit, and then about 60 to 70% of the rabbits around them can be then, I don't know about immune, but they get the vaccine. Do you believe that that technology has been implemented in the current vaccines, or some of them?
I do. And also, that's what they're wanting to make up in space. And then they bring these things down and they're going to give them to people. I mean, this is very nefarious in my estimation.
Well,
It's very, very nefarious.
well, what makes it nefarious is it goes against the informed consent. If they're vaccinating you and then I'm automatically vaccinated because I'm next to you, that's an extreme violation of informed consent.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big
So
time.
regardless, you can argue all day long whether it works or not. It's an extreme violation of our rights, our basic human rights.
I agree. I agree 100%, but they don't care.
No, I know.
They want to get it in all of us. And for those people that don't want to take it, well, we're going to get it in you anyway. Guess what? But
But
you know,
you have this amazing product that I have okay, I have a weight loss thing that I talk about, and your kimchi product, not only does it significantly help, I mean, it helps on so many levels with the immune system. People who are dealing with cancer, if they can deal with their immune system, it's amazing what it does to help you fight cancer, because cancer is really an immune system breakdown, right? And then it also helps with weight loss. I mean, this thing is amazing. Can you talk about it?
yeah, I mean, kimchi is amazing. It's centuries old, and I was so excited. I read studies all the time, of course, but I was so excited when I found this study because it's been such a strong advocate for kimchi and its health benefits for such a long time. And this study was about the T cells. This groundbreaking study uncovered something remarkable about the 1,000-year-old fermented superfood kimchi. It doesn't just strengthen our immune system, but it actually rewires the way that our natural defense system operates. And when we consume kimchi, we're actually transforming our T cells into basic guards, from basic guards into elite, high intelligent commanders or special ops forces, whatever you want to call them. And these upgraded T cells then become masters of search and destroy. They learn to hunt down viruses and with terrifying precision, Sarah, while
Wow.
keeping your body calm and inflammation free. And when you consume kimchi every single day, you're essentially building an impenetrable cellular fortress, if you will, ensuring that your T cells are always on high alert and ready to crush any threat before it even stands a chance.
Wow. So you recommend people taking this every day, and it profoundly changes your health profile.
It certainly does. I mean, kimchi is superior to any other foods, especially any other fermented foods and synthetic probiotic supplements, because of its microbial diversity. And that's the key to good health, the diversity. We know this because when they've studied people who live to be over 100 years old, known as centenarians, it's interesting. They discovered something that they all had in common. They had an incredible microbial diversity in their gut microbiome. And kimchi is considered the king of fermented foods because it has over 900 strains of beneficial bacteria, far more unique strains than any other fermented food or probiotic supplement. And sauerkraut, just to give an example, is a great fermented food, but it only has 28 strains. So there's the
Or
difference,
like garlic.
928.
Garlic, I think, has like 47 or something, but that's a complete, you're at a completely different level when you're talking that. And
Yes.
now, if you have, and that your microbiome is really hard. Like you get all these strands, but you don't even know when you get these supplements if it's actually going to freaking work, right? I mean, I talked to a pharmacist and she goes, yeah, I don't know. She goes, I did my own studies. And she goes, because I don't believe that a lot of these over the product things actually have living bacteria that's actually going to make a difference. My sister said the same thing. She goes, Sarah, I don't know. She goes, just get something that has the most possible that you can possibly find because that's what your system needs.
Yeah, the diversity is the key. And, there's another remarkable study, Sarah, that showed that kimchi actually slows the aging of human cells. They did an anti-aging study. And here's the kicker. If you slow the aging of our cells, you slow the aging of our tissues, and therefore you're slowing the aging of the entire body. And again, these are the types of claims that big pharma makes with products that have a ton of negative side effects. And that's the great thing about the natural approach is that it doesn't come with all the nasty side effects or the black boxes. So this is an important aspect to look at too.
Well, my understanding is the anti-aging process is just about bringing more vitality in general. If you bring more vitality, you get more muscle. Muscle is a big part of this, by the way. I'm learning a lot about how important developing muscle is just to be able to have independence in your 70s, 80s, and beyond if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have muscle and you're not focused on it when you're younger. But the vitality of enriching and nourishing your cells over a long period of time is I mean it's immeasurable of what that does later on in life.
Big time. It's big time. And, going back to the topic, because, well, before I go there, also, people don't understand that as we age, our body slows down and it stops making things that make our
Yeah.
bones strong, that make our collagen, and keeps our body all together, that, we lose that naturally. So we have to have in our diet those things that will help keep us strong. But going back to the topic of weight loss and Ozempic, did you know that research shows, there's studies that show that including kimchi in your diet every day reduces obesity by 31.8%?
I know that's what's so amazing. And see, what happens is these people lose weight, and same with me and everybody. You lose weight, and then you need to be on a maintenance protocol too. So it's like, okay, you've done this. You need to figure out a way to maintain it. I mean, that's what half society is dealing with right now. And the rebound effects off of Ozempic is like 300%. They're rebounding at worse than they had before they were on it. And if they don't get that under control, I mean, they're going to be miserable. They're going to be sicker than they were before they got on this product. Whereas kimchi can be something that it's like, okay, you did this, but now you really need to hone yourself in.
Well, you're changing the whole inner environment. When you get on a drug, like Ozempic, it's a symptomatic approach. This is going to the cause. So when you don't change what you're doing and you go back to what you've always done, and you're eating ultra processed foods, or you're eating too much sugar, or you're eating too much of something, you haven't changed your mindset yet. You haven't changed the interior mindset. And that's why it's so important to understand when you go for the cause and do it naturally, that's something that's going to last because you're understanding the inside of your body as well as the outside of your body, how you look. Because when you're truly naturally healthy, the inner health is going to reflect on the outside. Better skin, lower weight, better hair, lower rates of obesity, better fitness and ability. And you don't only feel kimchi work, you actually see it in the mirror. And the takeaway here is that the pharmaceutical should be a last resort. Natural remedies like kimchi are so much safer and more effective and provide long-term lasting results. Big pharma wants a skincare system, not a healthcare. I mean, something that keeps you, but let me say that again. Big pharma wants a sick care system, not health care. Something that keeps you coming back again and again
That's
because they
right.
are driven by profit. And so when you fix health problems or prevent them by addressing the root cause, you are healed as opposed to being perpetually dependent on them, which brings them tremendous amounts of money. And by the way, just as an aside, the people that eat kimchi every day in Korea, they live 6 years longer than we do here in the United States. I think that's a pretty important thing.
Well,
Yeah.
people don't like kimchi to eat, they don't like the taste of it, but you have it in a capsule form that makes it, you can do it, right? I mean, it's like it's just a capsule form. It doesn't have a bad taste to it. And is it just daily that you take this? And answer that first, and then I have another question.
Okay, well, all of the health benefits of kimchi are only realized when you're consuming it daily. I mean, all the research that I looked at, it's you eat this every day, right? And the only problem is it's not something that's easy to consume every day. That's why we created Kimchi One. They are convenient capsules for daily use. Americans will take capsules. We use a cold processing drying methodology to retain all of the fiber and the nutrition of the actual fermented kimchi. Virtually no sodium, unlike store-bought kimchi. 100% made in the USA, non-GMO, all natural. And Sarah, I can tell you that we have people that tried everything else and nothing was working for them. They try Kimchi One, and in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, they call, they write, they've had problems with their digestion. They're bloat. They were constantly bloated. Now they're regular. Now they don't bloat. They don't have the bloating and the gas. People who had problems with their immune system and used to get sick all the time, they're getting sick far less, and a lot of them aren't even getting sick anymore. People who experience chronic fatigue and brain fog. They're thinking clearly again and they have energy again. They're so happy. And people who have suffered from a variety of symptoms due to post vaccination syndrome, a lot of them couldn't even identify the cause. And they're now finally feeling better after using Kimchi One.
Well, and no, that's not the only thing that you have people do. Kimchi One is phenomenal. I mean, as far as helping people get back on track. But you have a whole system that you want people to call in and learn about more things than just Kimchi One, right? And we have a number for people to call in and talk to you about it because there's more to this. What is it they'll learn when they call?
Well, we love to have people calling. I've been educating people for over 50 years. And so I want people to call so they can speak to us, ask us questions. We want to make sure this is the right product for you in your mind as well. And they'll learn about other products that we have. But kimchi, that's the gut. And we want you to get your gut healthy because that's where your health starts and that's where your sickness starts. So you can get up to 25, you can get 25% off your order of Kimchi One today by clicking the link below and using the code Sarah. Or what I prefer, call us at 888-495-8092 for up to 50% off and free shipping. And again, we're going to even offer, a better deal. The first 100 callers are going to get a free bottle of Fortify with their order. Now, what is Fortify? Fortify is our product that contains all 9 essential amino acids to protect against cellular damage, help retain your muscle mass, like you were mentioning earlier, boost hormone production, and support your brain chemistry. And just remember, you're only going to get those best discounts in that free bottle of Fortify when you call in. And that again is 888-495-8092.
I've been going to a functional medicine doctor and I'm doing my entire I'm my entire I'm balancing out my entire hormones, my everything, make sure I have everything I need. I'm kind of just like I research this stuff. I'm like, so if it's something I'm interested in, I just do it to myself. I subject myself to. And my functional medicine doctor is outside the system. So I can't because she's just so tired of the system. So I'm I'm working with her outside the system so that I can do whatever I need to do. But one of the things that brings up is the amino acids. And she said that that is one of the most lacking things that people have, and how significant it is to your health, especially as you age. And
Yes.
and so do you have anything you want to add to that? Because I've been hearing that a lot lately.
Oh, it's definitely what we need because again, as we age, our muscles, they start to atrophy. Everything starts to go downhill, and so when your muscles do that, you can't stand up as easily. You can't get out of bed as easily in the morning. You can't do just daily tasks when you've got things going on in your body where your muscles aren't strong. And so this is very, very important that you keep
Well,
those
that's the
muscles strong.
independent thing that I'm talking about, because the number
Yes,
one reason that you won't be independent in your 70s and 80s, whether it's your parents or yourself, are not going to be independent is if you don't have strong muscles.
that's right. And people don't understand. You've got muscles in your ears. You've got muscles in your throat. A lot of people have problems swallowing when they get older. They
That's
have hearing
awful.
problems. And maybe if you take, the Fortify, you might not need your hearing aid anymore. I'm not making a claim here, but who knows? I mean, the muscles are everywhere in our body. You'd be amazed at where the muscles are. So, fortify your
Quality
gut
of
and fortify your muscles.
Well, quality of life is profound. I mean, you're seeing the people in nursing homes. I mean, they have such an enriched life, their whole life. And whether you're talking about, I just lost my mom, right? And that messed us up
I'm
on the
sorry.
last interview that we did because I had to reschedule and everything. And then my dad had a stroke like 2 weeks before that. And so he was in this nursing home. And so it got me thinking about this. And whether your parents are there yet or not, or whether you're there or not, this is a real situation where people go into these nursing homes and they've had this rich career or this, whatever, and they were really respected. And then they go into this nursing home and nobody visits them. Their quality of life goes down because they didn't work on their muscles. And now the last 10 years of their life or whatever is lonely and horrible because their body doesn't work properly.
Right. But it's also the gut because your health starts in the gut. If you have a strong gut, that's also going to help with stronger muscles. But you also need to make sure that you're eating things that will contribute to keeping that muscle mass there as well. So yes, natural approach is far better than, trying to get it.
Well, because you
Uh,
have to do it anyways. You need that base foundation, right? I mean,
that's
you need
right.
that base foundation every day for as long as possible. You want your cells nourished at its highest optimum level every day to ensure that your quality of life is at its peak your whole life.
That's exactly right. So please, pay attention and do this for yourself and, live a more quality, longer life.
Okay, so what is the number again that they can call?
888 495 8092.
Thank you so much, Kim, for joining. I really wanted to have this conversation because I had a lot more questions for you, and I know my listeners did too. And I would really, I know they want you to come back. We need to have you back on a regular basis because with cancer soaring, we're just bombarded with crap in our environment. People are really, really sick, and we need some answers. We need help.
Yeah. Well,
So
start with the gut. Start with the gut. That's where everything starts there. So start with the gut, and you will be amazed at how your whole body changes because communication starts in our gut. It goes to our heart. It goes to our brain via the vagus nerve. It goes to our skin. It goes everywhere in our body, our pancreas. The gut is key. Gut is key, and you've got to keep it in balance. So, everybody listening, start with the gut. Order Kimchi One and see what a big change that makes in so many different areas of your body. You will be amazed.
thank you so much, Kim, for joining today.